Sugar,
Do 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 do.
oh honey, honey,
Do 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 do.
that is the topic of our show today.
Hey, I'm Dr. Tim Warren here, and I'm so happy to be with you again, and with, as always, with my partner, Dr. Steve Taubman, and we're the Ouch Doctors, and we are here to talk about new thinking about old pain, as always. And just a disclaimer here, first off, right off the bat, we're not your doctors, we're not your therapists, we're not here to treat anything. We just want to lay some awesome new thinking on you. Stimulate your thinking and have you be able to take any questions you have back with your awesome providers and take your pain relief to the next level in a mind-body fashion.
And I'm Dr. Steve. And by the way, if you are watching us on YouTube, make sure to push that little red button in the bottom right-hand corner. Join our channel. We would love to have you be part of our community.
Awesome. And let's see.
Something special to offer.
Yeah, we have thanks for reminding me, Dr. Steve. Stick with us to the end. We have, well, obviously our one big thing that we share all the time. And also we have just a wonderful offer for you. If you can go to theouchdoctors.com, put your email in, and you're going to be able to download our gift, which is becomes in 3 parts. This stuff can be complicated on the mind-body pain relief. So download the PDF. You can follow the flow chart to get out of pain, all the definitions that make it easy to understand, followed by the 14-day easy breezy checklist to minimize your pain 50% in 2 weeks.
I like that easy breezy checklist. We should rename it. That's even better. Guys, we're super excited. Of course, as always, please give us your feedback and leave your questions here. And we'll try to keep an eye on the comment section and respond to you in any way that we can and try to help you understand what you need to understand to be really ready, willing, and able to participate in your own well-being. So today, I am very excited because we're talking about a fascinating subject, and it is the subject of sugar. Sugar, one thing, well, let's say 3 very obvious things about sugar. Number 1, sugar tastes great. We love sugar. We love sugar in every form we could possibly get it. We like our cookies and our cakes and all the other wonderful ways that we get sugar. We just love it. Secondly, we know that sugar is in everything, and it's well absorbed into our culture, meaning that we think of the word sweet in the same way we think of any other positive attribute. So how sweet it is. You are so sweet. Oh, that's sweet. You are my sweetheart. So sweet is good. And unfortunately, because we think of sweet in such positive and glowing terms, it makes it very difficult for us to recognize the third aspect of this, which is that sugar can be deadly. Sugar can do tremendously damaging and terrible things to you, and highly, highly addictive. In fact, one study shows that sugar is more addictive than cocaine, or as addictive as cocaine. I don't want to exaggerate, but that's pretty darn addictive. And of course, interestingly, we are all at the effect of the industrialists in this country, in the same way that Philip Morris has played a very dark role in the world of cigarettes and hidden from us the dangers of smoking. So has the food industry hidden from us the dangers of processed sugar, what it can do to us, and the addictive nature of it. Because let's face it, if they can get us to buy more of their stuff, well, that's awesome for them. So why not just keep on putting a little bit of it in everything we eat? And as a result of that, there's a lot of sugar, and a lot of things that you may not realize have sugar in them. Now, sugar's been around for many, many, many eons. It was used in Mesopotamia and used in ancient India and ancient Greece and across the African continent over many, many years. And back in the 1800s, it was discovered that you could make sugar out of beets by a Polish scientist. And that was quickly absorbed and embraced by Napoleon, who then spread sugar across the European empire, and sugar became one of the most consumed foods and the most consumed spice, if you will, in all of Europe for many, many years thereafter. Now, why is sugar so much of a problem for us? Well, there are many risks associated with sugar that some of you are aware of, and some of you are aware of some of them. So, for example, most people are aware that sugar causes tooth decay. Your mommy told you that. Many of you are aware that sugar can cause and certainly exacerbate diabetes, and it can be very deadly if you are diabetic, if you're eating more sugar than your body can metabolize. What you may not know is that sugar also suppresses your immune system. In fact, sugar makes it more likely that your body is going to have a difficult time throwing off any kind of an infection, because those little bugs, they love sugar. They love to eat it. So excess sugar in your blood is just delicious for those little bacteria and viruses in your system. Most importantly, as we go along here, is to recognize that sugar is one of the leading causes of heart disease, and heart disease is the leading cause of death in the world. In fact, JAMA, the Journal of American Medical Association, has discovered that an increased intake of sugar is proportional to the number of deaths. Most Americans get about 10 to 15% of their dietary calories in sugar. But there are a lot of us who are getting as many as 25 or more % of our calories from sugar. And those who do are twice as likely to die of heart disease because of the intake of sugar. So this is some pretty powerful stuff. And now, what does this all say about pain? How does sugar impact us in terms of chronic pain? Well, one of the greatest attributes of pain is inflammation, swelling. And chronic inflammation is the cause of most pain, particularly widespread pain, pain from arthritis, pain from fibromyalgia, pain from other aches and pains that just won't go away. That sense of inflammation, that achiness that you feel when you wake up in the morning, that's all inflammation. That's where it comes from. And the inflammation is caused to a large extent by sugar, because sugar, when it blends and meets with proteins in the blood, form what are called advanced glycation end products, or AGEs. That increases the LDLs. You know, the LDLs, those are the bad cholesterols in your body. They create the causation of C proteins, bad stuff, and those cause chronic inflammation, which, by the way, not only does chronic inflammation lead to pain, but it is thought that chronic pain leads to cancer, heart disease, diabetes, depression. Any of you depressed at all? Any of you feel like you could get your mood up a little bit? Arthritis, and even Alzheimer's disease. What did I say? Oh yeah, Alzheimer's disease. And obesity. You know that one, right? Now, what about energy? Energy depletion? Or is your energy off? That's sugar. Bad mood, sugar. Bad sleep, sugar. High stress, sugar. And if you've got kids and you've been feeding your kiddies all this stuff, guess what? Low cognition, that means poor thinking, and low concentration. You know, those little kids at school who just can't keep themselves in their seats. Let's check their sugar intake. So there are a lot of reasons for us to look at this. Now, according to Harvard Medical Letter, the sugar-sweetened beverages such as soda, energy drinks, sports drinks, even juices like orange juices, apple juices, things of that sort, are by far the biggest source of added sugar in the average American diet. So this is so important to me that I will not I treat a lot of people for chronic pain, as does Dr. Tim. I refuse to treat someone who's drinking soda, because what's the point? It's like, you know, deciding to treat somebody for bullet wounds who keeps shooting themselves. Doesn't make any sense. So we're not going to do it. Got to stop that right off the bat, right? So these various things I just mentioned, the sugar from soda, diet drinks, and energy drinks, etc., constitute about a third of the sugar that we consume as a nation. I mean, is that amazing? A third of the sugar? Now, of course, the other sources are cookies and cakes and pastries and other things. But did you know that there's also sugar in your ketchup? And there's sugar in your yogurt. And there's sugar in things that don't even taste sweet. That's weird. Sugar here, sugar there, sugar everywhere. So how much sugar should you have? What's the right amount of sugar? Well, according to the AMA and the American Dietary Association, they say men should have no more than 9 teaspoons of sugar per day. And women should have no more than 6 teaspoons of sugar per day. 9 teaspoons, 6 teaspoons, sounds like a lot, right? I mean, it sounds like it would be hard to get up to 9 teaspoons or 6 teaspoons of sugar per day. But guess how much sugar we actually eat on average? Any guesses? About 17 teaspoons of sugar per day for the average American. Now, that doesn't mean there aren't a lot of you out there watching this who aren't all the way up to 30, 40, 50 teaspoons of sugar a day, because guess how much sugar is in one soda? You just drink that one can of soda. One can of soda, on average, 9 teaspoons of sugar. Wow.
So the whole day right there.
That just shot the whole day. You had that one teaspoon, that one soda. You've had all the sugar your body needs. But what if you're a parent and you're sending your kid to school, but first you got to give them a nice bowl of cereal. That bowl of cereal, and chances are, is about 5 to 6 teaspoons of sugar if you don't add any, and if it's not a sweetened cereal. And then you put on that milk. That's about 13 more. Well, that's 13 grams of sugar. So 4 more teaspoons of sugar. So again, that's a whole day's worth of sugar right there. Then you send them to school. Maybe they have an orange juice with that. Well, there's another 6 teaspoons of sugar right there. And it goes on and on and on. So it's not difficult for us to start building those numbers up very, very high, very, very quickly, and to begin to cause ourselves, without realizing it, all of the effects of sugar and all of the addictive qualities of sugar that cause us to want more sugar. And what do you crave in the middle of the day? Sugar. Because there's another aspect of sugar that I really want to have you understand. There's something called your glycemic index. Right, Dr. Tim, a glycemic index basically is how quickly does this particular food enter your bloodstream and turn into sugar? How quickly does it become sugar in your system? Because the quicker it happens, the more quickly the sugar levels in your blood spike. And for most of us on the American diet, we're constantly eating things that are causing a spike of our blood sugar. And so that blood sugar goes up quickly and we release a ton of insulin and we drop that sugar right back down again. And then our blood sugar goes even lower than where it should be. And now because we're below normal, we crave more blood sugar because it gives us more energy. And so what do? We go to the one thing that's going to bring our blood sugar up as quickly as possible. And it spikes again and it drops again and it spikes again. And we get that day where, we got a lot of energy after breakfast and we start to nod off. And then around lunchtime, we get a little better, but then around 3 o'clock, we're falling asleep again. And what it does is to cause what's called adrenal exhaustion. Your adrenal glands are exhausted. They can't handle it because they're busy trying to maintain the neurohormonal balance in your body in the face of all this sugar. And of course, your pancreas is overworking and your body's becoming insulin resistant, which means that it's not able to use the insulin to help let the sugar into the cells. And the next thing you know, you've got a major mess on your hands. And so some people will ask, and yes, Dr. Tim, you have a question.
Actually, I'm going to ask Dr. Steve. So a couple of things. This is an unbelievable discussion right here. And you're talking about the connection between sugar and death. And you also mentioned the connection between sugar and pain and inflammation.
Yeah.
And I'm reminded again that sometimes pain is a good thing because if at least it's a message to ourselves that we're not doing something right. In this case, our nutrition's all off. Our insides are deteriorating. We have this inflammation. Our joints are deteriorating. Our blood vessels are constricting, and we could potentially have a heart attack or something, or a stroke, and just die. So sometimes the symptom of pain should be like a wake up, like, okay, what am I doing wrong? Let me look at my nutrition. Let me look at my habits. Let me look at my sugar intake, and let me deal with it right now. The unfortunate thing is that most people aren't doing that. And so hopefully, we're getting that message out here a lot, because I don't think most people are aware of the connection between sugar and death and disease. So thanks for sharing this vital topic.
So that's a really interesting point. So that's, the magic of our human body is the fact, as Dr. Tim said, is pain is giving you a signal of something perhaps being wrong. And if you're eating a lot of sugar, the pain is the good thing, right? Because you'd rather have pain if you can interpret that pain and know what to do about it, rather than have death or disease, right? Or heart disease. So that's right. In that sense, that pain could be giving you a great signal. I personally am right now doing a purge of sugar in my diet, because every now and then I sort of sneak back up into it. We all do. There's a lot of sugar out there. We like our refined carbohydrates that turn into sugar. So not just the actual use of sugar, there are a lot of other things that are very quick to become sugar. And if you're going to have any sugar, it's better for it to be natural sugars, the fruits and the vegetables, right? Not the candy and the cakes and the soft drinks and whatnot. And so for me, I've never been like a really bad abuser of those things. I'm not a soda drinker. But, I started, what I got into, Dr. Tim?
What?
I'm going through my second childhood, and I've rediscovered
candy,
peanut butter and jelly. Damn, that's good. See, the problem is it's so darn good. And so we just go for it, right? So we think, and then what we do is we bargain with ourselves, right? well, it's not that bad because it's only a little bit of jelly. And, but the next thing you know, I'm eating 3 peanut butter and jelly sandwiches in a day, and it's not a little bit because it's addictive. And so we start bargaining with ourselves to have more of it and more of it and more of it. Dr. Tim.
And also the bread is sugar.
And the bread is sugar, yeah.
A bagel, your bread, your pasta, it's sugar. It breaks down to sugar in your system. So now another thing you were talking about the short chain carbohydrates that burn fast and raise our blood sugar and then slam it down.
Yes.
How that's deteriorating. So, and I know you gave a couple of examples of those short chain sugars like soda or candy or something like that. What are some of and you said that you're decreasing your sugar. And so what that means is you're doing some longer chain carbohydrates. So what would be some examples of some better ways to burn those carbohydrates or sugars?
Great question. So, I think it is important to have a certain amount of, there's no rule that you have to have fruit in your diet, although berries are very good for you. So it is a good idea to have berries.
Yeah.
Right? And berries are absorbed more slowly. The sugar in the berries absorb more slowly. Bananas have a higher glycemic index, so you want to go a little easier on the bananas. But fruits that have fiber in them are really much, much better than drinking a juice where all that you're getting is the sugar water out of that fruit. So another thing is corn is a very high glycemic index vegetable. So the fruits and vegetables that are very sweet in general have a higher glycemic index, with a few rare exceptions. Like a sweet potato, by the way, has a lower glycemic index than a white potato.
Exactly.
Yeah. Right. So it's sweeter, but in that case, it's better for you. Now, a lot of people ask about sugar substitutes, right? Because, I want to get my sweetness. Now, I personally believe that you're better off learning how to enjoy the flavor, the taste of things that are not as sweet, rather than trying to fool yourself into being able to continue to have things that are just as sweet. Why? Because at some point when you get tired of those artificial sweeteners, you're going to end up going back to the other thing, right? You haven't actually made a sacrifice. You haven't made a change. I personally believe it's a much better choice to gradually shift your taste buds to appreciate and enjoy a subtler flavor. I think it's a much better choice than taking a diet soda over a sugared soda, for example. And that way you're not getting the chemicals out.
Can you give us an example of what you mean on that last one? What do you mean by a subtler a flavor?
Well, like eating fruit versus eating a piece of cake that's sweetened with an artificial sweetener. Okay, so rather than taking something that you've always eaten that's sweet, that's full of sugar, and trying to eat the same thing that doesn't have sugar in it, trying to fool yourself, but still, get to have the thing you like, versus learn how to like the things that are better for you.
Got it.
Right?
Can I interrupt for 1 second? I think we got a message from, is this the great Dr. Foster from who's a chiropractor in Vermont?
Charlie, how are you, my friend? Wow. Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, he's not too far from you, right?
Charlie he's an amazing dude. This is a guy he's a mover and a shaker. He's a brilliant guy. He's done so much for the chiropractic profession here in Vermont and nationally. And the dude never ages either. That's the thing, man. He just, and you know what? He's walking his talk, right? He gets his regular chiropractic care. He eats well. He's an actor. He's an active guy. And he's, every time I've ever seen him, he's just been, strong and powerful and good looking.
The fact that he's not aging, though, that's not fair.
I know. Okay, so Charlie, get out of here. No, just kidding. So listen, let's talk a little bit about substitutes, because this is a question that comes up a lot. People are asking me about, well, if I don't use sugar, can I use honey, or can I use maple syrup or agave, or et cetera, et cetera. All of those things are sugar. And none of them is, if you're going to use them to the same extent that you were using sugar before, you're still going to be having a problem if you're still as addicted to them as anything else. Honey, maple syrup, a little bit better, just a little bit, because there are micronutrients that you won't get from white sugar. Stay away from agave. This is something that a lot of people, agave, because it's, it's not the same kind of sugar. It doesn't release the insulin into your system. It's fructose. Fructose does bypass the same insulin response, but over time it does damage to the liver. It causes a release of certain chemicals from the liver that then cause insulin resistance and can cause a lot of other breakdowns in your tissues. So it's not a good choice. Don't do that. I don't know about that much about stevia and the Truvia and things like that. I do use them sometimes. So Dr. Tim, have you got something to say about that?
It's just my personal feeling on all that stuff. I'm going to go, it's all shades of gray.
Okay.
For example, I am deathly afraid of things unnatural, synthetic, anything I try to stay away from. Any kind of chemical, I'm just going to try to minimize any contact with it at all, because I think that our bodies were designed tens of thousands of years ago before we had any of that, and they're going to react best in the absence of a lot of these chemicals and processes that we're inundated with right now. I'm going to pick a tablespoon of honey, let's say, from an organic source, way before I'm going to do any kind of chemical sugar substitute. I'm always going to go with the more natural source. I'm going to go with an orange over orange juice, another level of a synthesis of factories kind of changing the original, God-given substance. So that's my philosophy with almost everything. But I am going to stay away from anything chemical as much as I can, because it's impossible, but we just, as long as you come from that philosophy, you can do the best you can do.
And I agree. And I think that if you're doing what Dr. Tim said, which is exactly the way that I live my life, I will simultaneously minimize the use of it, because again, I want to train my nervous system and my senses to appreciate a subtler flavor. So if I used to use sugar, or if I used to even use honey, maybe I'll still use it, but I'll use it less, or use a little bit less of it. It's really a direction we want to go in. Now, Dr. Nancy asks about stevia. Do you have anything you'd like to say about stevia? That's a natural product. It's a natural plant.
Is Nancy a doctor?
She is. She's a chiropractor.
She should throw in her 2 cents right there for us. I mean, I'm going to use stevia over anything like any of the. It's more natural. Again, it's shades of gray. I'm going to definitely pick it over saccharin or whatever, the aspartame, or those things that are just going to kill you, with long-term use. And again, I'm not going to do any diet stuff. Remember, I mean, that fad is kind of over, but the diet stuff has just more chemicals in it. So I'm going to stay away from that too.
But it is amazing, isn't it, when you think about the psychology of the American diet, and how we are all constantly being almost programmed to have a diet that looks a certain way, with a certain amount of sweetness and junk and everything. And people would sooner, have chemicals so they could pretend that they're still living that life, than realize, like what you're saying, just learn to live a natural life, and it'll pay off in benefits. And I did want to say that when I started to remove the sugars from my diet recently, I'm sleeping better. I'm getting less aches and pains. So now Sean is with us, and she's low BG. What's BG?
Blood glucose.
A blood glucose. Okay, here we go. Sugar or honey with hypoglycemic reaction. I'm not sure if there's a question in there or not, but are you getting a question out of that, or do you want to clarify? Okay. Hey, listen, I'm just looking at the clock here, and I'm realizing the clock on the wall is ticking away. And what we need to do is to offer our one big tip for the day. And it's an easy one, guys. If you are drinking soda or juice, orange juice, things like that, I want you this week to switch to water. And I want you to anticipate that you're not going to like it, and be ready to say to yourself, tough, because it's not going to take more than about a week before you start to readapt your taste buds. And that when you then try to go back to soda, you'll realize this is too sweet. So my recommendation is that you make that one change. Get yourself drinking water and start moving away from those other things. Now, if you're super, super addicted to lots and lots of sodas and things like that, then if you want, you can move from the soda to a juice, like a pulpy juice, for a little while. So you're just working your way down. But we want you to work your way all the way back down to the point where you don't need any of that stuff, and you feel you feel your thirst is being quenched, et cetera, et cetera. So that's our one big tip for today.
Sounds awesome, Dr. Steve. Thanks. And tomorrow's show at 4:00 Eastern Standard, the same time, same place, is the number one mistake that people make when they're trying to minimize their own chronic pain. It's the number one mistake. So that's tomorrow's topic, and I can't wait to be with you here.
That's awesome.
Steve, do you want to start our catchphrase?
Okay. Train your brain.
Get out of pain.
Take care, guys. We'll see you next week.